Area 1010. Mr. Crow.
Thank you. If there was anything that I'd like the voter to get fired up about, besides my candidacy, it would be clean water. Don't remember my first trip to Wilmington because I was only a few months old, but it's my guess my mother took me for swims in the ocean because I've been drawn to clean water in this area ever since. My most fond Wilmington experiences are body surfing in pristine water at the beach, skiing, trolling in the breakers for mackerels and blues, frying pan shoals, crabbing in the marsh, drinking Pepsi around the fire at Mason-Borough Island. Believe clean water is the key to bringing Wilmington to its greatness. Fought Hugo New, fought barging New York City trash and putting it in a proposed landfill, and of all the crazy places, the Green Swamp, and I'm not pleased with Titan coming here. Dredging the ship channel 5 feet deeper will rupture the Castlehane PD aquifer from Wilmington to the Atlantic. Upriver high-density animal farms are perfect incubators for the H1N7 virus that has the potential of killing billions. Clean water might be the fine line between life and death with this virus. Believe ripping a hole in the aquifer as small as possible, dig the channel for 50-foot draft ships from the ocean to Sunny Point and no further. Have pristine water and people will travel to vacation and film movies here. I'll always be working for clean water because it's special to splash around in. It's a magnet for attracting business and people to vacation, live, and retire here. Clean water shows respect for what God gives us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crow. What does she say? No applause and no response, so we won't lose time. Senator Rountree.
First, let me thank the Lower Cape Fear Republican women for hosting this forum. It's a great opportunity to hear from all three candidates, and I'm looking forward to the debate. You know, I think about the time when I was growing up working on the family farm in the summers, where my uncle gave me 8 rows of tobacco and said, David, this is your 8 rows to make with what you will during the course of the summer. And I remember when the labor came through the field, and I got to thinking, you know, if they topped and suckered my 8 rows of tobacco, I might have to pay them. So I went out there and I stopped them. You know, you learn a lot about the value of hard work. You learn a lot about the free enterprise system. You learn a lot about, you know, the dreams and desires, you know, that we all have to achieve and excel. I think about the folks that are coming up today. They don't have the opportunity that even my generation has had. They don't have that opportunity because we have a $16 trillion debt that's going to destroy us. They don't have that opportunity because we have a tax code that is 3.8 million words. Let me repeat, 3.8 million words is the tax code that's on the books today. You know, we need to scrap the tax code we have in place and replace it with a fair, flat, and simple tax. We have government overreach. I fought the fight in the state legislature to go after the liberal bureaucracies that were overreaching. I fought the de-annexation fight, little town just outside of Goldsboro. I led the fight on de-annexation. I've led the fight on government deregulation. I've cut spending, which is what we've got to do. I've helped balance a budget, which we must do at the federal level. And I led the fight against Obamacare in the state Senate. I can take that experience and hit the ground running on day one when I arrive in Washington. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today and look forward to the questions during the debate.
Thank you, Senator Rowe. Mr. Pantano.
I want to thank all of you for being here. So many of you have become not just friends, but like family. I want to honor my wife and my boys for being here tonight. This has been quite a journey. My mother, I appreciate all that you've put up with. By a show of hands, how many of you think the economy is the #1 issue to reconcile in this election? How many of you think that energy prices have a direct impact on our budding recovery? Could I see a show of hands? Okay, I'm not going to embarrass you now with another show of hands, but my question is, how many of you think that a professional background in global markets, in energy prices, in heating oil, in natural gas, gasoline, electricity, might be a useful skill set, a useful understanding to bring to solve some of the challenges that we face as a country, as a society? I'm running for Congress for 2 reasons. They're 7 and 9 now. The last time I said that, they were a little bit younger. There's some other reasons. I believe in a pro-growth agenda. I believe that if we can grow the private sector by reducing regulation, repealing Obamacare, repealing Dodd-Frank, getting rid of Sarbanes-Oxley, we can let the private sector grow and create jobs. I believe in protecting the homeland. You know I've got the scars to prove my commitment. I believe in preserving conservative values, the life of the unborn, the sanctity of marriage, the fact that our rights are God-given. Finally, I believe that we need principled leadership. We don't need career politicians. We don't need pensions for members of Congress. We don't need gold-plated health care for members of Congress. And we need term limits for members of Congress. I look forward to sharing some of those ideas with you tonight, and I'm looking forward as well to answering the questions from the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benton. Now for your first question. As concerns, we're not going to applaud him. On the subject of national security and international energy, and we'll start with Mr. Benton, what role should the U.S. play in reacting to Iran's development of nuclear weapons and threat towards Israel? And at what point does the U.S. intervene to protect our interests in the Middle East?
How much time do we have now to respond to questions?
You have
90 seconds.
90 seconds.
I don't like the idea of America reacting to anything. Anybody that's ever been in a confrontation knows that the one that's reacting is not the one that's leading. I prefer America to do what it's done for over 200 years, which is take a leadership role in the world. With regards to Iran and now instability in the Middle East, threatens energy prices and in fact threatens our ability to take kids to school or buy a gallon of milk. We need to look at a couple of things. This administration has failed in sending clear and concise signals to our partners and our enemies around the world. So the first step, of course, is changing the administration, and we plan on doing that this November. Whatever the outcome here tonight, whatever the outcome at the congressional level, we'll all be working to make sure there's a Republican voice in the Congress, a Republican voice in the governor's mansion, and a Republican voice in the White House. That will be a very important first step in bringing some stability to the energy markets. Now, more specifically, we cannot allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. We know for a fact that Iranians were hatching terrorism plots from over our borders in Mexico to attack the Saudi ambassador and the Israeli consulate in Washington, D.C. We know for a fact that over 1,000 of my brothers and yours have been killed in Iraq and Afghanistan with the use of Iranian IEDs and Iranian technology and Iranian training. And they were willing to do all of this before they had a nuclear weapon. So what will they be willing to do after they have one? That's a very heady conversation. At the same time that I believe we must stand firmly with Israel, as somebody who is in fact trained with the Israeli Defense Forces, I will also tell you we cannot allow this president or any other unilateral action without the Congress making the declaration of war. Thank you.
Mr. Crow, do you need me to repeat the question?
I think I've got the general idea. One of the scariest things I was reading that Obama said our vision was for a world without nuclear weapons. What's scary about that is usually the opposite of what he says comes true. As far as Iran is concerned, I was reading that Bill Clinton was paid $131 million to hook up Kazakhstan with Westinghouse, and now Kazakhstan has got a whole bunch of nuclear weapons. And the problem is proliferation of nuclear weapons. Now, you know, I grew up in the oil business in Texas. 1,000 feet of natural gas is selling for about $12 an MCF. There's 6 of those in a barrel of oil. That means a barrel of oil, if it was really on the free enterprise system, would be about $12.50 a barrel, which would mean gasoline should be selling for about $1 a gallon. You know, Cheney had that energy task force, which is great because our oil production is up to almost 10 million barrels a day. It's supposed to go up by 3. When you toss in Canada and Mexico, you know, we're so close to being self-sufficient in oil, it's incredible. But all this stuff about Iran has another program, and it goes back to the Federal Reserve, and these people, I think, are worried about losing their, I gotta stop.